Having the best physique doesn't always mean you win. Behind the bright lights of bodybuilding, there are decisions that defy logic, crush expectations, and leave a lasting mark on the sport's history. Legends overlooked, fan favorites robbed, and titles that still spark outrage to this day. If you think the one who deserves it always takes the trophy, this video might flip your view upside down. Grab your pre-workout and come with us as we dive into the biggest injustices in bodybuilding. Real, controversial cases that still fuel debates around the world. Because sometimes the heaviest weight isn't on your back, it's in the judge's hands. The 2014 Mr. Olympia was one of the most anticipated shows of the decade. The rivalry between Phil Heath and Kai Greene had reached a boiling point, and fans were ready for a true clash of titans. Both athletes were in their prime, each bringing something unique to the stage. Kai Greene came in with a monstrous physique. His back was insanely dense, and his legs were carved with unreal detail. On top of that, his posing routine was artistic, emotional, and unforgettable. Phil Heath, on the other hand, showed up full and shredded. But there was one controversial issue. His stomach appeared distended, drawing immediate criticism from the bodybuilding community. Despite Kai's explosive performance, the title once again went to Phil Heath. The decision sparked outrage among fans who felt Kai had finally outdone the reigning champ. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, an icon in the sport, publicly criticized Phil's aesthetics, saying his physique wasn't pleasing to the eye. Coming from someone of Arnold's stature, the comment only fueled the controversy. It left many asking, what exactly are the judges looking for? Is it about symmetry, stage presence, or just reputation? That kind of uncertainty shook the confidence of athletes and fans alike, and left a deep mark on Kai Greene's career. Kai was visibly shaken by the loss. He'd come close before, but 2014 truly felt like his year. The way he blended raw muscle with performance and emotion was something rare. But the judges didn't seem to value that. For many, this was the moment the sport started to lose some of its credibility. How could a more aesthetic and complete physique be passed over for a champion with such a glaring flaw? That question still lingers in the minds of fans and critics of pro bodybuilding. After 2014, Kai Greene never stepped on the Olympia stage again. He had the body and the potential to keep going, but he chose a different path. Many saw it as a silent protest, because really, how do you stay motivated in a sport that doesn't seem to reward your best? Kai's absence was a big loss for the stage, but also a wake-up call about what's happening behind the scenes. Even today, his decision divides opinions and keeps fans speculating. So, do you remember that iconic showdown? In your eyes, who truly deserved the 2014 title? Was the judging fair, or was there favoritism? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The 2007 Mr. Olympia went down as one of the most controversial decisions in pro bodybuilding history. Jay Cutler, the reigning champ at the time, was back to defend his title after dethroning Ronnie Coleman the year before. On the other side stood Victor Martinez, coming in at his all-time best after an impressive win at the Arnold Classic. Fans were expecting a close battle, but no one predicted a result that would stir up so much backlash. Martinez hit the stage dry, dense, and incredibly symmetrical. His posing was confident, his waist tight, and his aesthetics on point. He looked ready to take the crown. Jay Cutler, however, wasn't at his peak. His physique looked a bit flat in several poses, and his waist was noticeably wider than before. Despite his massive frame and overall size, he fell short of the standard he had set in previous years. Experts and fans alike noticed that his posing lacked impact and that his conditioning simply didn't match that of a defending champion. From several angles, the difference between the two was undeniable. Still, when the final result was announced, Jay took the win by just 2 points. That razor-thin margin lit a fire across the bodybuilding world. Many argued that Victor Martinez had clearly brought the better package and had the title snatched away. Online forums, media outlets, and even seasoned insiders openly questioned the judge's decision. How could a more conditioned, more aesthetic, and more confident athlete lose to someone with a visibly weaker showing? No one ever gave a clear answer, but the damage was done. The controversy cast a shadow over Jay's win and raised serious concerns about the sports judging system. Victor Martinez handled the loss with class, but there's no doubt it hit hard. Many believe that was supposed to be his moment. Winning the Olympia would have changed the course of his career, bringing in sponsorships, global recognition, and a place in the sports elite. Instead, that golden opportunity slipped away. He kept training and competing, but the Olympia title never got that close again. To this day, many fans still call him the People's Champ of 2007. And that kind of respect, not even a trophy can buy. So, what do you think? Who truly deserved that title? Was it Jay Cutler, with his name, legacy, and sheer mass? Or Victor Martinez, with near-perfect aesthetics and elite conditioning? Drop your opinion in the comments. This is one of those calls that still splits the fan base. Jay Cutler is a legendary champ, no doubt about it. But in 2007, even some of his own fans admitted he wasn't at his best. That narrow win shows there was hesitation, even among the judges. And when there's hesitation, shouldn't the edge go to the guy who actually brought the best physique on game day? The 1990 Mr. Olympia was a clash between two titans with completely different visions of the ideal physique. On one side, Lee Haney, already a legend, was chasing his 7th straight title. On the other, Lee Labrada, a symbol of aesthetics and proportion, stepped on stage with one of the most refined physiques the sport had ever seen. He came in razor sharp, with surgical definition, smooth lines, and near-perfect balance between muscle groups. Many felt Labrada stole the show. His stage presence was elegant and precise, the kind of physique that both inspired and amazed. Lee Haney, meanwhile, stuck to his trademark mass and size, but this time around, critics noticed a few slip-ups. His look was heavier, with less clean lines and a rougher overall appearance. He was still a beast, no doubt, but that year he seemed to be outshined in aesthetics and symmetry by Labrada. Even so, the result was predictable. Haney was crowned champion once again. The decision left fans questioning the judges' criteria. Were they really judging the best physique that night, or simply rewarding the bigger name? It didn't take long for the backlash to hit. Experts and fans alike began wondering if Haney's legacy had tilted the scales. Many believe 1990 was supposed to be Labrada's moment, the year when aesthetics would finally triumph over size, when quality and balance would beat out brute mass. But that's not how it played out. The frustration ran deep, especially for those who saw Labrada's look as the future of the sport. To them, this could have been a turning point, ushering in a new era focused on visual perfection rather than raw bulk. As always, Lee Labrada handled the outcome with grace. He accepted the decision without public complaints, earning even more respect inside and outside the sport. But that didn't stop fans from keeping the controversy alive. To many, he should have walked away with the title, not just for his flawless form, but for representing a bodybuilding philosophy centered around harmony and aesthetic appeal, a style that, over time, gained even more value, especially among those who idolize the so-called golden era of aesthetics. So what do you think? Should past titles carry more weight than the actual performance on stage? Was Haney truly better than Labrada that night? Or was the win just a reflection of conservative judging? The 1990 showdown between Labrada and Haney remains one of the sport's most famous, almost victories. A duel between two legends, two styles, and two different visions for bodybuilding's future. And maybe, just maybe, the path chosen that night wasn't the fairest. Even today, when people revisit the photos and footage, one question keeps coming up. How did Labrada not win? That lingering doubt proves that, decades later, fairness in bodybuilding is still a hot topic. The 2001 Mr. Olympia was one of the biggest shocks and most controversial moments of modern bodybuilding. Ronnie Coleman, already a total phenomenon with 4 consecutive titles, faced serious heat from rising star Jay Cutler. That year, Jay came in at his absolute best, dry, insanely shredded, with impressive proportions and top-tier symmetry. A lot of experts said he had even outconditioned Ronnie, The stage was set for a historic upset, and fans could feel that something big might be coming. But once again, the win went to Ronnie Coleman, and the backlash was immediate. Sure, his muscle mass was unmatched, but Ronnie had some noticeable flaws that year. His midsection looked distended, a criticism that had followed him from previous shows. On top of that, many noticed an apparent imbalance in his arms, sparking rumors of possible muscle atrophy. Even so, the judges kept him on the throne, delivering one of the most debated decisions in Olympia history. Jay Cutler, despite having what many considered the more complete package that day, walked away in second place. The real bombshell came the following year, when Jay was disqualified from the 2002 Mr. Olympia for failing to appear at the mandatory IFBB drug test. As a result, his prize was stripped, and his reputation took a temporary hit. The whole situation raised more questions about what really goes on behind the scenes. Was this harsh punishment aimed at protecting Ronnie's reign, or just a bad break for Jay? The community was divided, and the cloud of suspicion only grew darker. The rivalry between Ronnie and Jay only intensified from there. Ronnie kept dominating until 2005, while Jay kept stacking up runner-up finishes, always just shy of the top. Even without the win, Jay earned more and more respect from fans for his consistency, discipline, and well-balanced physique. That 2001 showdown became a symbol of how tough it is to beat a reigning legend, even if you bring the better package. Jay would finally take the crown in 2006, ending Ronnie's era. But many still believe that one should have come 5 years earlier. What do you think? Was Jay Cutler robbed in 2001? Did Ronnie truly deserve to stay on top, even with visible flaws? It's a tough call, but the footage doesn't lie. And to this day, that narrow gap still fuels heated debates. The 2001 face-off between Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler stands as one of the most talked about injustices in bodybuilding history. It's a prime example of how judging sometimes leans toward the bigger name, even when the performance on the day tells a different story. It's not just the Mr. Olympia that's known for controversial calls. Some of bodybuilding's biggest upsets have gone down at the Arnold Classic, the second most prestigious event on the pro circuit. In 1999, the stage was set for a major showdown between two heavy hitters, Chris Cormier and Flex Wheeler. Both had impressive resumes and plenty of stage experience, but that year brought a twist. Chris came in razor sharp, dialed in with killer conditioning, standout symmetry, and a presentation that had the crowd hooked. No doubt, it was one of the best showings of his entire career. Flex Wheeler, on the other hand, was already a fan favorite thanks to his legendary status and iconic physique. But in 1999, he clearly wasn't at his peak. His conditioning was off, and he lacked the dense, full muscle look that had made him famous. Still, to everyone's surprise, Flex was announced the winner. The decision caused an immediate stir among fans, athletes, and even the press. The big question was loud and clear. What more does a guy have to do to win when he brings the better physique to the stage? Critics didn't hold back. Many pointed out that Chris Cormier had outperformed Flex in nearly every technical aspect, from sharper definition to superior symmetry. Chris looked like the rightful champ. But the win was credited by many to Flex's name value and pre-show favoritism. The incident reignited heated debates about the politics of pro bodybuilding. What matters more? The physique you bring on show day, or the reputation you've built over the years? And when past reputation outweighs present performance, how does a deserving athlete find the motivation to keep pushing? Chris Cormier was visibly disappointed, but handled the loss with professionalism. He kept competing and remained one of the most consistent athletes through the 2000s. Still, that night left a scar. It was his golden opportunity to secure a major title and cement his place among the all-time greats. As for Flex, even with the win, he faced a wave of criticism and had to deal with the burden of a controversial decision. These kinds of outcomes hurt not just the athletes, but also the credibility of the event itself. Have you ever heard about this 1999 Arnold Classic showdown? Let us know what you think in the comments. That battle between Cormier and Wheeler became a textbook example of a questionable call. Flex Wheeler is No doubt, one of the greatest to ever do it. But on that day, maybe he wasn't the one who should have been holding the trophy. The year was 1997, and the Mr. Olympia stage witnessed the final chapter of Dorian Yates' reign, one of the most dominant bodybuilders of the 1990s. He was chasing his 6th consecutive title, aiming to cement his place as a living legend in the sport. But this time, the challenge was real. Nasser El-Sombaty, known for his massive size, commanding stage presence, and consistent showings, Nasser came in at one of his all-time bests. He was thick, defined, and, unlike most mass monsters, his waist was impressively tight, a rare combination for a guy of his build. Meanwhile, Dorian Yates took the stage clearly injured. During prep, he had torn both his triceps and biceps, injuries that heavily impacted his symmetry and posing. The imbalances were noticeable, especially in back and arm shots. Still, Dorian brought his trademark grainy look, dense, dry, and insanely conditioned. But the question was unavoidable. How could a visibly compromised athlete take out someone in peak form? The answer came, and it sparked instant controversy. When Dorian Yates was announced the winner, the crowd, and much of the bodybuilding media was stunned. Many believe Nasser had earned that title. He not only checked all the technical boxes, but also symbolized a new generation ready to take the spotlight. For a lot of fans and experts, this call ranks among the most controversial in Olympia history. How do you justify crowning an injured champion over a fully dialed-in challenger with elite mass and balance? The sense of injustice was hard to ignore, and the debate spread across the bodybuilding world. Nasser El-Sombaty took the loss like a pro, but the disappointment was obvious. He knew he brought a physique worthy of the Sandow. That night was supposed to be his moment. As for Dorian, even in victory, he announced his retirement right after the show, acknowledging the severity of his injuries. His exit marked the end of an era, but left a bitter aftertaste. Many still believe his final win wasn't truly deserved. That showdown became a symbol of an unwritten rule. Sometimes, the name on the scorecard carries more weight than the physique on stage. So what do you think? Did Dorian really deserve that win, despite the visible injury? Or should Nasser have taken it? Drop your take in the comments. This story also highlights how honoring a champion's legacy can sometimes compromise fairness in sport. No doubt, Dorian was a beast in bodybuilding, but on that night, Nasser El-Sombaty outshined him and didn't get the recognition he deserved. The 1997 Olympia battle between Dorian and Nasser went down in history not just for the rivalry, but for a decision that still sparks debate to this day. By 1994, Dorian Yates had already cemented his dominance over the Mr. Olympia stage. But that didn't stop controversy from flaring up, and maybe the biggest one that year involved Shawn Ray. Dorian had taken the title in '92 and '93 with his signature style. Insane muscle density, paper-thin skin, and that grainy look that judges loved. But by '94, the wear and tear was starting to show. His distended midsection and uneven biceps were hard to ignore. Still, he was once again crowned champion, beating out competitors that many felt looked far more complete. Among those challengers, Shawn Ray stood out with one of the most aesthetic physiques of his entire career. Smaller in frame, yes, but perfectly proportioned. He stepped on stage with razor-sharp definition, flawless symmetry, and a tight waistline. His posing was clean, technical, and polished, winning over not just the crowd but a good portion of the bodybuilding press. Shawn represented the classic ideal: harmony, balance, and artistry. Meanwhile, Dorian stuck to his mass and density game plan, but the asymmetry and bloated midsection couldn't be overlooked anymore. Even with Shawn's clear aesthetic edge, the judges once again went with size and brute force. The decision shocked many fans and even fellow athletes. Side-by-side photos from that night still make the rounds on forums and social media, fueling passionate debates. How could a more conditioned, more balanced athlete lose to someone showing visible flaws? That question still lingers, and for a lot of people, it's proof the judging didn't reflect what truly happened on that stage. Shawn Ray has always been outspoken in the sport, and this loss only amplified his reputation as one of the most underrated bodybuilders of all time. Despite being one of the most consistent pros of the 1990s, he never clinched an Olympia title. In 1994 was seen by many as his best shot. His classy response to the outcome earned him even more respect in the community. He kept competing at a high level and became a symbol of classic aesthetics in bodybuilding. So, have you ever seen the showdown between Shawn Ray and Dorian Yates? Who do you think brought the better physique that day? The 1994 face-off between Dorian and Shawn is still remembered as one of the Olympia's most controversial moments. A true battle of raw power versus refined aesthetics. And once again, aesthetics lost. This moment proves that judging doesn't always reward the athlete who truly shined on stage. And that's exactly why this one makes our list of the biggest injustices in bodybuilding history. The rivalry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sergio Oliva is one of the most legendary in bodybuilding history. When Arnold beat Sergio for the first time in 1970, the fitness world was stunned. Sergio, known as the Myth, had already claimed 3 consecutive Mr. Olympia titles and seemed unbeatable. He was massive, with proportions that looked almost unreal and genetics that many considered out of this world. But Arnold came in with confidence, charisma, and a polished, refined physique. Enough, at least in the judges' eyes, to take down the reigning champ. That victory split opinions and left fans craving a true rematch. That long-awaited rematch finally came in 1972 in Essen, Germany. The stage was set for one of the most hyped showdowns in bodybuilding history. Sergio returned with an even more dominant physique. Massive size, rock-solid density, sharp conditioning, and his signature tiny waist set against insanely wide shoulders and lats. Arnold, as always, brought his sculpted lines, theatrical posing, and masterful stage presence. It was a true clash between raw, natural power and the strategic, calculated precision of the Austrian oak. But when the results were announced, Arnold was declared the winner once again. For many fans and insiders, it was a shock. There was a strong feeling that Sergio had the edge that day. He looked fuller, sharper, and more visually impressive. Reports at the time suggested that the judging leaned heavily on subjective categories like presentation and charisma. That only added fuel to the fire of a growing theory. This wasn't just about who had the best physique, but about shaping Arnold into the global face of bodybuilding. Sergio Oliva never accepted that defeat. Until the end of his life, he stood by his claim that the 1972 Olympia was rigged. In his view, the IFBB had already decided Arnold was the man to promote worldwide. And it's hard to ignore the timing. Arnold was quickly becoming a media figure, with his name reaching beyond the sport into Hollywood and mainstream fame. Crowning him as champion made business sense. But at what cost? Many still believe that decision robbed Sergio of a rightful win and tainted what should have been a purely athletic competition. So, have you seen the photos from that legendary battle? Do you agree with the outcome? Who do you think really brought the better physique to that stage? Sergio Oliva, the raw powerhouse, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, the master of presentation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The 1972 face-off between Arnold and Sergio wasn't just a battle between two competitors. It marked a turning point in bodybuilding history. From that moment on, the sport started shifting into global entertainment. And with that shift, the criteria changed. Muscles alone weren't enough anymore. But the cost of that evolution may have been fairness in moments like this. Sergio left without the title, but with the eternal respect of fans and the legacy of a true icon. And Arnold, despite his unmatched greatness, still carries the weight of that controversial win. This showdown remains one of the most debated calls in bodybuilding history, a chapter filled with politics, marketing strategy, and the clash of two absolute titans. The 1980 Mr. Olympia is, for many, the most outrageous and controversial injustice in bodybuilding history. After retiring in 1975, Arnold Schwarzenegger had shifted his focus to acting and quickly became a global movie star. No one expected him to return to competition, let alone on such short notice. But in a shocking twist, he announced just weeks before the show in Australia that he'd be competing. According to Arnold himself, he trained for only about 8 weeks. And yet, he walked on stage and walked off as champion. But the real drama was only just beginning. Arnold was clearly not at his best. Compared to his prime, he lacked size, sharpness, and that dense, full look he was once known for. On stage, he even avoided poses that might expose his weaknesses, something that didn't go unnoticed by the judges or the crowd. Meanwhile, athletes like Mike Mintzer, Chris Dickerson, and Frank Zane were in peak condition, ready to battle it out. Mintzer, in particular, was on fire that year. He had just won the professional Mr. Universe and was considered the frontrunner for the Olympia title. When Arnold was announced the winner, the atmosphere on stage and backstage turned tense. Mike Mintzer was furious and announced his retirement from the sport immediately after the contest. Others, like Boyer Coe and Frank Zane, also publicly voiced their disapproval. The decision was widely seen as rigged. A backstage move to crown Arnold one last time as a global icon. But the way it was handled left a lasting scar on the sport. The backlash was so intense that the official broadcast of the event was scrapped. For years, rumors spread that Arnold had used his influence to bury footage of the contest to prevent the public from seeing how he actually stacked up against the others. Some say the footage was destroyed. Others believe it still exists, just never released. The lack of visual records only deepened the conspiracy surrounding his win. To this day, very few images or videos from that competition are available. Extremely unusual for an event of that scale. So what do you think? Was Arnold's surprise comeback deserving of the crown? Or was the outcome clearly manipulated to protect his public image? Drop your take in the comments. The 1980 Olympia was a turning point. It exposed just how much charisma and influence can sway decisions in a sport that's supposed to be judged purely on physique. It also became a breaking point for several promising athletes who felt betrayed and left the sport for good. What should have been a triumphant return ended up being a symbol of controversy. And that brings us to a powerful question. How far should influence go in sports? Is it ever worth sacrificing fairness for the sake of spectacle? Arnold Schwarzenegger is, without question, one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time. But his 1980 victory remains one of the sport's darkest and most debated moments. The 1981 Mr. Olympia stands as one of the most controversial and contested moments in bodybuilding history. Just a year after Arnold Schwarzenegger's highly debated win in 1980, the Olympia stage once again became the center of harsh criticism, this time with the unexpected victory of Franco Columbu. After a 4-year hiatus due to a serious knee injury suffered during a strongman event, Franco made his return to competition. But the real shock wasn't that he competed, it was that he won. Franco was clearly not in peak condition, yet he walked away with the title. When he stepped on stage, the flaws were obvious. His conditioning was off, his leg symmetry was visibly compromised, likely due to the lingering effects of his injury. And there were even signs of gynecomastia, something that's typically penalized in pro judging. Meanwhile, athletes like Danny Padilla and Tom Platz brought outstanding physiques. Danny was crisp, symmetrical, and complete. Tom, on the other hand, showcased the most jaw-dropping legs in the entire lineup. Insane separation, muscle detail, and conditioning. The crowd saw it, the press saw it, but somehow the judges didn't. The decision sparked outrage. One of the most criticized aspects was the perfect score awarded to Franco by an Italian judge. That 10 out of 10 raised major eyebrows, especially given Franco's long-standing friendship with Arnold, who at the time held significant influence within the IFBB. Many saw it as a political move rather than an athletic one. The organization, already under fire from the previous year's debacle, took another hit to its credibility. The 1981 event quickly became infamous, widely considered one of the most manipulated outcomes in Olympia history. Danny Padilla, known as the Giant Killer, was devastated. He had poured everything into that prep and genuinely believed he had what it took to win. Tom Platz, one of the most respected and beloved athletes of that era, also expressed disappointment, though he maintained a sportsmanlike demeanor. The general consensus was that Franco wasn't rewarded for his performance, but for his legacy. And that kind of decision didn't just discourage competitors. It cast doubt on whether the Olympia was truly about merit anymore. So, what do you think? Who really deserved the title in 1981? Can friendships and politics behind the scenes actually sway something as important as a Mr. Olympia decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps keep this debate alive. The 1981 Olympia remains a dark spot in bodybuilding's timeline. It's a reminder that even on the biggest stage, fairness isn't always guaranteed, and that sometimes what happens behind the curtain matters just as much as what happens under the lights. And that wraps up our journey through the 10 biggest injustices in bodybuilding history. These stories go way beyond muscles. They're about merit, ethics, and respect. Each one proves that what we see on stage doesn't always reflect the real effort behind the scenes. Behind every athlete flexing under the lights, there's a story of sacrifice, passion, and love for the sport. And when fairness fails, it's not just the competitor who suffers. We all feel it. We, the fans who cheer, who get inspired, and who truly believe in the value of hard work. If you enjoyed this video and want more content like this, hit that like button. It really helps the channel keep producing thought-provoking and informative videos like this one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. And if you want to take your support to the next level, consider becoming a channel member. You'll help build this space with us and get access to exclusive content too. Now tell me, which of these injustices got you the most fired up? Or is there another one we didn't cover that you think should have made the list? Drop it in the comments below. And if you're into content like this, don't stop here. I invite you to watch the video linked right here on the card. Thanks for sticking with us until the end. See you in the next video.